In this video, we're going to delve beyond the mainstream narrative on Ukraine's cross-border offensive into Russia. We're going to explore the implications of China's struggling economy and its relationship with Putin. We'll discuss Iran's potential attack on Israel, and we'll provide updates on emerging viruses and which ones you should be watching the closest. Plus, stick around to the end and I'll update you on the property that I recently purchased and what we're doing there. We're also going to have another great giveaway, this time from Refuge Medical, a pretty nice kit that they're going to provide to a winner. So definitely stick around to find out how you can enter to win that. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. Now, every so often, I try to break down global threats here on the channel as I see them and their potential impact on this community, even if you're far away from the conflict zone, to really help you make an informed decision about what and how you will prepare where you are. So let's go ahead and jump into these points. Ukraine. Russia has had to concentrate almost 90% of its military capacity on sustaining the invasion of Ukraine, and it has come at a cost. It has left parts of the border unprotected, and Ukraine has taken advantage of Russia's thinly spread forces and sent what analysts estimated were 10,000 troops across the Russian border into the Kursk region to capture an estimated 1,000 square kilometers of land, most notably the town of Sutya. And it's the first incursion onto Russian soil since 1945. And this is really notable for a very big reason that the media is largely ignoring, which I'll cover for you in just a moment. But first, let's look at why this cross-border offensive is a powerful new chapter in this war. For months, it has seemed that Russia and Ukraine were locked in a stalemate, and neither country really made significant territorial gains. In the Ukrainian spring counteroffensive, it just didn't amount to much. Meanwhile, Russia was hammering Ukrainian towns with mortars, missiles, and drones. And the first reason why this offensive is significant is that it takes control of the staging areas where Russia was mounting these aerial attacks. It pushes the aerial bombardment force further out of range of Ukrainian towns and cities, especially the heavily bombarded city of Kharkiv. Now, this is the reason President Zelensky is telling the world and what you will hear in the mainstream media. Now, it's true that there is something that's not being discussed, which, again, we're going to explore momentarily. Now, the governor of that region has reported a significant decrease in aerial attacks since the operation began. And this offensive is significant because it scores a win and really embarrasses Putin. It forces Russians to evacuate, and it brings the war to Russia. It forces Russia to redeploy troops from the eastern Ukrainian regions, easing the pressure on Ukrainian forces defending there. And although this really hasn't happened so far. Now, it also cuts some of the very few supply lines, railroads, and roads into the Belgorod region, resupplying the Donetsk region where Ukrainian forces are getting hammered daily. And this is partially seen in the forces launching offensive into the Belgorod region to the east of the controlled territory. And if Ukrainian forces can make significant headway in the Belgorod region and sever those resupply lines, the war will decidedly favor Ukraine. You need to understand that this is not an area with a lot of travel options. Often only one or two major roads and one railway pass through. And finally, it offers Ukraine a chance to trade Russian soldiers for captured Ukrainian soldiers. And it is an exchange territory should any peace talks occur. And they can trade it back from land Russia's occupied. Okay, so that's a summary, but there are two parts of this that you won't hear a lot about in the mainstream media. One is that with an open border, Ukraine can launch multiple small insurgency sabotage operations further into Russia. Imagine the havoc just a few explosive drone operators could create inside of Russia. How many Ukrainian soldiers are in the crowds of evacuees or secretly traveling deep into Russia? We're not going to really know until they have launched an operation. Now, the second part that you're not going to hear about is because it's clandestine. It's because it's a dirty little secret of this war. NATO is, in a way, funding both sides of this war. It's also why Putin just can't send in bombers and jet fighters to carpet bomb and drive the invaders out of Russia. And it gives Zelensky significant leverage over both Russia and any naysayers or fence riders in Europe. It's because the seized town of Sutya, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, it's also the home of Russia's largest operational natural gas metering station. Now, by all accounts, Ukraine is now in control of that. So here's what you might miss in the news cycle. The winning side is not always the side of right, or sometimes defined as a business transaction gone horribly wrong. And that's somewhat true in this situation. Often it's a side that is supported because of the resources that continue to flow even to the enemies. A case in point is the Satsa natural gas metering station. This station plays a critical role in transporting natural gas from Russia to Europe via Ukraine, measuring supplies in a major pipeline system. Now, despite ongoing conflicts, gas transit through Ukraine has continued, with this Satsa remaining key. In 2023, over 14 billion cubic meters of gas flowed through the station, and in 2024, the flow has stayed constant at 40 million cubic meters per day, valued at about $3 million daily. What this means is that NATO countries indirectly fund Russia's war effort while opposing it militarily. Now, Ukraine could have just halted the pipeline, which primarily serves Hungary, Slovakia, and Austria, two of which are NATO members. However, doing so would have alienated key European allies. Now that Ukraine controls the Satsa station, Putin, he has a dilemma. Bombing such a critical revenue source would be disastrous, risking significant embarrassment and panic among Russian citizens. The station is really too vital to destroy, making it a strategic stronghold for Ukraine, much like the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, which is something that Russia currently holds in Ukraine. Now, watch for Russia to cut off the supply there and put pressure on NATO to ask Ukraine to stand down. And the only other remaining operational natural gas routes from Russia to Europe, Turk Stream and Blue Stream, they run under the Black Sea and are more challenging for Ukraine to target. Now, the Nord Stream sabotage remains officially unsolved, but widely attributed to Ukraine, so they aren't impossible targets. Now, Ukraine has an elevated bargaining chip and a scorched earth poison pill of its own. They can make a last-ditch effort to destroy the plant, cutting off a 1.1 billion flow of natural gas annually. That's considerable leverage over both Putin and Europe. And Zelensky, he doesn't have to beg for NATO support as much because he has his hands on Europe's thermostat. In the winter, it's coming. Satsa is to Zelensky what the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is to Putin. It's an undeniable foothold that cannot be easily regained and sways power over enough of the world to make sure that you're always heard. So don't let this fact get lost in the news cycle. As always, follow the money. If Ukraine doesn't lose Satsa, they control more than 1,000 square kilometers of land. And they hold sway over many of the world's future decisions when it comes to how this war will play out in the future. If the troops holding that town and gas metering station, if these were chess pieces, they would be kind of a forking knife that was supported and placed far enough into the opponent's side to really control a good portion of the center of the board. They can flank left or right or leap ahead, but their current resting spot really involves a sacrifice so great that the opponent is really hesitant to attack. And I don't see Ukraine advancing further into the Kursk unless they try to secure the nuclear power plant, which is about 80 kilometers to the north. If their forces were in the open, they would meet the same fate that Prigozhin's Wagner's forces met, as they would be easy targets for Russia's air defenses. Now, that being said, they're going to push forward for as long as it is safe and Russian forces are fleeing or getting captured. They'll advance until Russia can form a coherent front line. That's evidenced by reports of them pushing as far north as Krymsky Byet, which is shown here. So don't believe anything you hear about forces marching on to Moscow just yet, but do watch for any reports about the Kharkiv nuclear power plant. The question is, will this bring Ukraine closer to an endgame, or will Putin adopt a scorched earth policy and burn everything down around him? What do you think? In the comments section below, let me know your assessment and how this changes things. China. Another significant development is the number of foreign investors that are bailing out of China right now. And this is partially because China is not a good place to invest. Their economy is artificially propped up, and this also could change the geopolitics around their support of Russia's war effort. Now, I say that because Russia keeps turning to China to sell its natural gas and grain, and if they can sell enough to China and India to make up for the Satsa plant I just mentioned earlier, Putin would have no problem blowing it up and forcing Ukraine out of Russia. Now, foreign investors, they pulled a record amount of money from China last quarter, reflecting deep pessimism about their economy. China's direct investment liabilities dropped almost $15 billion in the April to June period, marking only the second time this figure has turned negative. If the decline continues, it would be the first annual net outflow since at least 1990. And despite Beijing's efforts to attract foreign investment, the smallest increase on record was seen last year. Multinationals, they're keeping cash abroad as advanced economies raise interest rates while Beijing lowers them to try and entice them back. And it's not working. Chinese outbound investment hit a record $71 billion in the second quarter, up more than 80% from the same period last year. The data also shows a growing anomaly in China's trade surplus management, with a record $87 billion in the second quarter. Now, China's economic performance in July was disappointing, with new bank loans hitting a 15-year low, export growth slowing, and factory activity slumping due to the weak domestic demand. And the government is targeting around 5% growth for the year, but recent data shows a rocky start to the second half. And China's economy is really built in a way where constant growth is the only option. Retail sales, industrial output, and investment growth are all struggling, while new home prices fell at the fastest rate in 9 years. The real estate sector's troubles are reflected in the contraction of household loans, mostly mortgages, in July. So a lack of confidence in the Chinese market, it's not shocking news. The fact that their economy is more of a paper tiger, it's not news either. What we're watching and what really concerns me most is that while Russia becomes weaker and the Chinese economy falters, I can really see where these two superpowers are being pushed into each other's arms. The two leaders, Putin and Xi, they last met on July 3rd, and given their more desperate situation, you want to watch for a new meeting to get on the book sometime soon. We're going to have to watch for an elevated partnership that allows Putin to sell oil and natural gas in exchange for greater military aid and support. So what do you think? Is this just another chapter in China's long, slow decline, or is it just business as usual? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Iran, Israel. The world is anxiously waiting for Iran's counterattack on Israel after Israel embarrassed them on the world stage by assassinating Hamas leader in their country. Now, Israel hasn't come forward as being behind the assassination, but if it walks and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. We're going to leave this in the category of they probably did it. At least enough probability is there for Iran to vow an attack. And unlike Iran's April 13th attack, which came 12 days after Israel's provocation and resulted in approximately 300 missiles and drones being launched, with only 1% getting through Israel's defenses, this strike really seems to be taking longer. That's likely because they want this attack to be launched simultaneously by the proxy forces surrounding Israel in Syria, Lebanon, and even Yemen to the far south. And the hope is that by using both short-range and long-range weapons, they can overwhelm Israel's Iron Dome and allied air defenses. Diplomacy, pressure, and time, they all work in favor of avoiding attack, but I don't think that this is going to last much longer than it takes for Iran to get its equipment into the hands of its proxy armies. And meanwhile, the U.S. has positioned a nuclear submarine in the Mediterranean near Israel, and other allies have deployed forces to bolster air defenses, so it really remains something that we will be monitoring. Now, I'm recording this video on the evening of the 15th, and by the time we release this video, we're not sure if this situation will have escalated, but we're definitely keeping a close eye on it. So, what do you think? Will Iran retaliate soon or just shrug this one off and give in to the global pressure to stand down? Let us know your opinion in the comments section below. Refuge Medical. Every now and then, companies will send me some gear to test, and if you've watched my channel a few years ago, I checked out and did a review on some of Refuge Medical's wound care kit and a few of their other items, but they just came out with a couple of new items. This is not a sponsored ad. I just wanted to highlight. They sent it to me. I like TJ over at Bear Independent. I love his model of creating high-quality kits, and they actually have training on how to use these. What they do is they buy these high quality items in bulk, and they can turn around and pass it on to you in a kit. You can get a savings compared to if you were to piecemeal try to build this together. This first one that they just came out with is their new desk kit. If you're in the teaching profession and you want something to have in your desk drawer, this might be an option you want to consider to handle trauma situations. This one is one of the new ones that just came out. It's pretty cool. You can wrap this around your ankle, slide your pants over it, and you've got a tourniquet and several other like chest seals and other items that you'd want to have in a trauma situation. If you're a CCW licensed, carrier like myself, this is something that you might want to give strong consideration to. If you're going to carry a firearm or weapon, you definitely want to have a tourniquet. Now, this other item, we just covered more like trauma items here, and this is what a lot of their kits are designed for. But what I like about this one is their wound care bucket. Once you sustain someone, take care of the trauma, this is going to be something you'd want to have on hand if there was a long-term grid down situation and you need to take care of a wound. They specifically designed this for this scenario. So what I'll do is I'll post a link to all these items below if you want to check them out. Giveaway. Since I already mentioned Refuge Medical kits, they have generously offered to give one kit away this week. This week's winner is going to receive Refuge Bleeding Prevention Kit. It also contains everything you need to stop massive bleeding injuries fast. And all you have to do to participate in the giveaway is just simply post a comment below, give the video a thumbs up, and complete the giveaway form linked in the description and comment section below. And this information is only accessible to our team, and what we do is we use a random selection tool. We'll choose a winner from the comments and reach out to you via email that you provided on the submitted form. So congrats to our last giveaway winner for the 72-hour survival box, Jenny Deutschendorf. It's a cool name. We're going to get that sent right away to you. Viruses. Now, if you watch the news about viruses, there are 3 things that you should take note of, and I'm going to tell you if you need to really be concerned about any of these. Now, the first is a breakout of monkeypox in Africa that's significant enough for the World Health Organization to recently declare a global health emergency. And there have been 14,000 cases and 524 deaths in Africa this year alone. So far, almost all of these deaths have been in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The possibility of it spreading around the globe is very real, but we're not facing a COVID-type spread and scare. The transition mode is by contact and not water droplets in the air. So we'll continue to watch this closely. But when it comes to incubators for these types of close contact diseases, Gaza is a massive one right now. There, because of the squalor and conditions of the war and because people are confined together in small spaces, they're malnourished and unable to maintain good hygienic practices, there's been an outbreak of disease of the skin. Outbreaks of scabies, chickenpox, skin rashes, and leishmaniasis, they have occurred in more than 150,000 people in these squalid conditions. And if monkeypox makes its way from Africa to Gaza, it's going to be devastating. So we're going to continue to watch this. And for the most part, the unaffected world remains relatively safe from a global outbreak because of the treatments and vaccines that do exist and because these are skin contact transmitted diseases. Now, a bit closer to home, the continued outbreak of avian flu among dairy herds in the U.S. is concerning. And as of July 2024, testing for avian flu in dairy herds remains voluntary, except for those moving across state lines. Many dairy farmers are avoiding testing, which could leave federal officials without significant warnings if the virus mutates and becomes more dangerous to humans. Now, this year, 13 dairy and poultry farm workers that we know of have been infected with the bird flu. The USDA offers a weekly milk testing program for farmers, but a few are participating, only about 24 herds out of 24,000 farms nationwide, or just about 0.1%. So with such low testing rates, if avian flu does significantly jump to humans, we may not realize it until it's too late. And while we're monitoring this virus with increased concern, look, here's the takeaway. There's no need for panic yet. However, it is wise to continue practicing good flu protocols. COVID is also making a resurgence, but fatality rates have dropped, making it the 10th leading cause of death, just ahead of suicides and below influenza and pneumonia. And with these viruses circulating, practicing good hygiene and flu protocols is crucial. You need to avoid crowded spaces, wash your hands frequently, and ensure your flu medications and preparations are up to date and well stocked. So what do you think? Have any of these viruses impacted you or anyone else in your life? What precautions are you taking? Let us know in the comments section below this video. Now, I try to leave these heavy news segments with a little update of what we're working on here at City Prepping so you can be a part of it. As I've mentioned on the channel several times, about, is it 3 or 4 weeks now? Yeah, give or take. I closed escrow on a new piece of property. The last few weeks, I've been working behind the scenes, doing a lot of things just that need to get done, some basic maintenance items. I brought in some contractors to do work on, there's 2 structures on the property. One is a barn that they converted into a house. It's permitted, but we're doing a lot of electrical work on it. And what we're doing is we're setting up a system that will allow us to demonstrate real create a test environment to show practically how a lot of these solar generators and other renewable energy products that I test on the channel, how they would actually use if you plugged them into a real house. A lot of the videos I've done have kind of centered around spreadsheets to give concepts, but what we're doing is we're now actually going to be able to show, powering, your refrigerator, stove, all the different things that people are interested in. We're going to be able to test these devices and go, test these in real time. This week, I've been working with contractors also. The property has a front yard. We're cleaning that up, and we had to pull down a tree. We're going to have to trim some other trees back. We're going to have to do a few other things. We're going to have to grade it and level it. And what we'll do is we'll use that as an environment to set up garden beds, chicken coops, a greenhouse, and other things that will allow us to show, hey, if you've got X amount of square footage in a suburban yard, for example, what can you do? How can you optimize that space? How would you go about doing it? And we're going to use that environment to teach in a small kind of confined space what all you can do. We'll be documenting that process here on the channel. But for right now, in the next month, a lot of it's just grading and getting the property ready to set that environment up. Unfortunately, the previous owners really neglected the property, and it has a lot of issues with water drainage. Unfortunately, a lot of it impacted the house, so we're having to fix that. But all that to say, that's what's happening behind the scenes. I'll probably really get going in earnest, setting up the beds and the other things kind of late September, early October. Again, after we get through with all the grading and other elements that we have to take care of. So I also have some exciting news. Now, again, I'm recording this on the 15th, and this September, what we're going to be doing is we're going to launch an accelerated prepper school. It's going to be designed to teach how in 3 weeks you can prepare for 3 weeks of preparedness. We're calling it 3 weeks of 3-week preparedness. And this unique course is really designed to teach anyone, no matter where you are in your preparedness journey, how to be prepared for 3 weeks of living entirely on your own. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover the core pillars of preparedness and really teach you the foundation of everything you need, from risk assessment to food, water, energy, medicine, bugging out, bugging in, and so much more. So whether you're new to preparedness or if you've been doing it for a while, we've really designed this course to ensure you have the 3 weeks you need in place for you and your family's security. And if you want to be notified about when we launch this, what I'm going to do is post a link below to the wait list so that you can get notified as soon as we launch it. And if you've ever wanted to get prepared to face any disaster on your own for 3 weeks or longer, if you're concerned about the state of the world and the direction that things are going, and you just want a little more self-sufficiency, this is your opportunity. And if you were unsure how to do it before, this course is really going to put you in with a cohort of potentially thousands of other people, ranging from professional preppers to beginners. We're going to walk you through everything you need to really be equipped with the tools to plan it all out and to set you on the right course to be 3 weeks self-sufficient. And the course is going to have live streams, active Q&A threads, and lots of interactive material that you're not going to find anywhere else. So in 3 weeks' time, you would be ready to survive any disaster for at least 3 weeks on your own. Again, I'll post a link below if you want to be notified about that. All right, so I know we covered a lot, especially here at the end. And as always, I just want to leave an encouraging note to you all. Like I always say on these videos, you have time to prepare. I know the state of the world at the moment, it's crazy when we create these news segments because I feel like we have to look in real time how fast things are changing. But this is why I love being in this community. We have all chosen not to be a victim. We have chosen to instead prepare. And despite all the chaos that goes on outside the world, I find comfort in knowing in my home that my family and I, we've done all we can to prepare. Will I ever be fully prepared for every situation? No, but I'm going to do all I can. And the takeaway and my encouragement to you is that you have to understand you have time. I know a lot of us looking at the state of the world at the moment, it can feel overwhelming. But my encouragement to you is just take one little step at a time. Take and do what you can with what you have at the moment. I know there's always a desire to have more, to learn more, to be better equipped. I've been doing this for years and I wish I had more time on my hands to do what I want, but I'm going to take advantage of what I have now. And this course that we're releasing at the beginning of September is designed with that same intent, to teach you as quickly as possible how to get prepared for 3 weeks. Now, I know a lot of you watching this may say, hey, 3 weeks is not enough. That's a starting point. I like to follow the rules of 3. And I think if you can get at least 3 weeks of preparedness, you build a foundation to allow you to build to 3 months and beyond. But it's all about building those foundations in the steps. So again, my encouragement to you is stay encouraged, keep doing what you're doing. Don't allow all the, fear and bad news out there to get to you. We do these news segments on the channel to try to really help you understand where things are going. So it will really help you to determine how you can prepare for what may be coming. Again, I am so honored to be a part of this community. I appreciate just everything you, the community, has given me up to this point, the subscribers, those that watch these videos. I love what I do on this channel, and I'm excited about these next several years as we continue to prepare together. As always, stay safe out there.